The candlelight flickered across Rhea Malhotra's diamond earrings as she scrolled through her phone, comparing herself to the anniversary posts flooding her feed. Designer bags, exotic trips, Cartier bracelets with price tags that screamed love in 5 figures. Arav Mehta watched his wife from across the table at Mumbai's most expensive rooftop restaurant, a reservation that had cost him 2 months of overtime at his modest watchmaking studio. His fingers traced the edge of the small wooden box in his pocket, smooth from countless nervous touches throughout dinner. "Rhea," he began softly, his voice barely audible over the jazz quartet, "I have something for you." She glanced up, eyes bright with expectation. "Finally! I've been waiting all evening." Arav's heart hammered as he placed the handcrafted box on the table. He'd spent 4 months on this project, staying up after closing his shop, carefully selecting each recycled silver gear, engraving tiny symbols that represented their journey. The first gear bore the date they met, the second, their wedding day. Each piece told a story only they shared. Rhea opened the box, and her smile froze. Inside lay a delicate bracelet, clearly handmade, with visible soldering marks and irregular links. She lifted it with 2 fingers, as if handling something contaminated. What is this?" Her voice carried across nearby tables. "It's us," Arav whispered, reaching for her hand. "Each gear represents a year. See this one? That's from the watch I wore when I proposed. And this—" "Stop." Arav's cheeks flushed crimson. At the next table, a woman unwrapped a Tiffany box, squealing with delight. "Are you serious right now? You brought me to this place, made me dress up, and you're giving me scrap metal?" "Arav, please." "I don't want cheap handmade stuff, Arav." She stood abruptly, the bracelet clattering onto the table. "Look around. Everyone here is celebrating properly, and you're giving me something that looks like it came from a street market?" She grabbed the bracelet and walked to the nearby trash bin, dropping it in with theatrical disgust. The soft clink of silver hitting the bottom echoed in Arav's ears louder than any symphony. "I'm going home," she announced, not looking back. "This is humiliating." Arav sat frozen, watching the most precious thing he'd ever created disappear into garbage among champagne bottles and crushed roses.
3 months passed like winter fog, cold, isolating, suffocating. Arav moved through his watchmaking studio like a ghost, his skilled hands repairing timepieces while his own time with Rhea had stopped entirely that anniversary night. Their apartment in Bandra felt like a museum of a marriage, artifacts of love preserved under glass but never touched. They slept on opposite sides of the bed, a canyon of silk sheets between them. Rhea threw herself into her marketing job and social media presence, posting carefully curated photos that screamed happiness to everyone except the man beside her. One Friday evening, Arav came home early, hoping to bridge the silence with dinner. He stopped outside their bedroom door, hearing Rhea's voice, breathy, intimate, alive in ways she hadn't been with him in years. "I miss you too, Vikram," she whispered. "He's working late again. Yes, I can meet you at the usual place." The words carved through Arav's chest like broken glass. He stood paralyzed, listening to his wife arrange an affair with the clinical precision she once used to plan their wedding. When she hung up, he heard her humming, a sound he hadn't heard directed at him in months. That night, Arav lay beside her, studying the curve of her shoulder in the moonlight. She used to fit perfectly against his chest, their bodies communicating what words couldn't. Now she might as well have been continents away. "Rhea," he said into the darkness, "do you remember our first apartment, the one with the broken heater?" She stirred, annoyed at being pulled from sleep. "What about it?" "We used to stay up all night, wrapped in blankets, talking about our dreams. You said you wanted a simple life, a love that mattered more than things." "People change, Arav. Dreams grow up." Her voice was cold, final. "Maybe you should too." He reached for her then, desperately, pulling her close despite her initial resistance. His lips found her neck, hands remembering the map of her body he'd once known by heart. She responded mechanically at first, but old muscle memory took over. They made love with the urgency of ending things, his hands clutching her hips as if he could hold her there forever, her nails digging into his back like goodbye scratches. Afterward, she turned away immediately, and Arav knew. This wasn't reconciliation. This was eulogy. The next morning, he was gone.
Arav found a small studio in Versova, near the beach, where the fishing boats rocked with the tide's rhythm. The space smelled of salt air and possibility. He sold his watch repair business and reinvested everything into a new venture, creating pieces that told stories of love, loss, and the beauty found in broken things. He called it Second-Hand Heart. Each creation emerged from discarded materials, vintage watch parts, broken jewelry, forgotten heirlooms brought by customers with stories attached. Arav didn't just craft accessories, he transformed pain into art. A widow's wedding ring became a pendant incorporating her late husband's military medals. A divorced man's Rolex evolved into matching bracelets for his daughters, each gear representing their unbreakable bond. His workshop became a confessional. People came not just for jewelry, but for someone who understood that the most valuable things often looked worthless to others. 6 months after leaving Rhea, Arav created his masterpiece. He'd retrieved the bracelet from the restaurant's dumpster that anniversary night, unable to abandon it, even as his wife had. Now he deconstructed it entirely, adding new elements: a gear from his grandfather's pocket watch, silver from melted-down wedding gifts, tiny engravings of every moment Rhea had deemed insufficient. The piece was hauntingly beautiful, a necklace that looked like mechanical lace, each component visible yet harmonious. He titled it, "What She Threw Away," and displayed it in his window with its story written on aged paper beneath the glass. A famous lifestyle blogger photographed it during a Versova art walk. Her post went viral overnight. This artist transforms heartbreak into heirlooms. His story about creating this for his wife, only to have her discard it, made me weep. This is what love looks like when it's not measured in rupees. Within weeks, Bollywood celebrities, international collectors, and broken-hearted romantics from across India flooded his small studio. News channels featured his work. Fashion magazines declared his pieces emotionally sustainable luxury. Arav stood alone in his workshop late one night, exhausted but fulfilled. His phone buzzed constantly with orders, interview requests, gallery invitations. Everything he'd created for Rhea, the love she'd found insufficient, had finally found its audience. Everyone, it seemed, could see the value in his heart. Everyone except the woman who'd once promised to hold it.
Rhea scrolled through Instagram mindlessly during her lunch break, her affair with Vikram already losing its initial excitement. He was married too, risk-averse, emotionally unavailable, everything she'd once criticized Arav for not being. Then she saw it, a gallery announcement for an exhibition called Recycled Devotion, featuring the work of an artist named A. Mehta. The preview image stopped her breath, a necklace that looked achingly familiar. Gears and silver arranged in a pattern that tugged at memories she'd tried to discard. She clicked through the carousel. Each piece was extraordinary, but the centerpiece, What She Threw Away, made her phone nearly slip from her trembling hands. The description beneath detailed its creation, a husband's 5th anniversary gift, rejected and discarded, rebuilt into something museums now wanted to acquire. The artist's bio was minimal, but the location, Versova, confirmed what her racing heart already knew. That evening, Rhea stood outside second-hand Heart as sunset painted the fishing boats gold. Through the window, she watched Arav work, his concentration absolute as he soldered a delicate joint on someone else's treasure. He looked different, leaner, more defined, with silver threading his temples that hadn't been there months ago. But his hands moved with the same gentle precision she remembered from when they used to trace her skin in darkness. The bell chimed as she entered. Arav looked up, and for a moment the workshop held its breath. "Rhea." Not a question, just acknowledgement. "I saw the exhibition announcement." Her designer heels clicked on concrete as she approached. "The bracelet, you kept it?" "I kept everything." His voice carried no accusation, just fact. "That's the difference between us." She gestured at the workshop, at the commissions lining the walls, at the evidence of his success. "You did all this because of me? Because I rejected your gift?" "I did this because someone needed to see value in the things others throw away." He set down his tools. "You taught me that the world judges worth by price tags and social media posts, but you also taught me that real value exists regardless of recognition." Rhea's eyes welled. "I was horrible to you. That bracelet, Arav, I didn't understand what it meant. I got caught up in appearances, in comparing our life to everyone else's highlight reels." "I know." He stood, maintaining distance. "You wanted passion you could photograph, love you could post. I gave you something that required looking beneath the surface." "Can I—" She swallowed hard. "Can I have it back? The bracelet, the necklace now. I want to buy it." Arav's laugh held no humor. "It's not for sale."
The gallery exhibition drew Mumbai's elite 3 weeks later. Rhea attended wearing black, anonymous and oversized sunglasses, watching strangers marvel at the pieces Arav had crafted from emotional wreckage. Each sold for amounts that made her designer handbags look like pocket change. But what she threw away remained in its glass case, a red "Not for Sale" placard beneath it, like a period at the end of their sentence. Arav moved through the crowd gracefully, accepting congratulations while his eyes occasionally found Rhea in the corner. When the formal presentations ended, he approached her. "Walk with me?" They ended up at Marine Drive, the Queen's necklace of lights reflecting off the Arabian Sea. For a long time neither spoke, just two people who'd once shared everything, now separated by the gulf of what could never be reclaimed. "I'm divorcing Vikram," Rhea said finally. The affair had ended badly, predictably. "And I know you're divorcing me. I got the papers." "Did you sign them?" "Not yet." She turned to him, vulnerable in ways she'd never allowed herself to be during their marriage. "I keep thinking about that anniversary dinner, about how I measured your love by its price instead of its meaning. I threw away something irreplaceable because I couldn't see what I had." Arav reached into his jacket, pulling out a small velvet pouch. From it, he extracted the original bracelet, not the necklace from the exhibition, but the actual piece he'd crafted 5 years ago, somehow restored. "The one in the gallery is a replica," he admitted. "I could never display the real one. It meant too much, even after everything." Rhea's hands shook as he fastened it around her wrist. The gears were still irregular, the soldering still visible, but now she saw what she'd been blind to before. Each imperfection was intentional. Each gear told a story. Each link connected their shared history with craftsmanship that transcended monetary value. "I don't want you back because of my success," Arav said quietly. "And I won't pretend your betrayal didn't happen. You cheated on me, Rhea. You valued appearances over authenticity. Those are truths we can't remake." "I know." Tears streamed down her face. "So why give me this?" "Because it was always yours. Because I made it with love that was real, even if you couldn't receive it." He touched her face gently, one last time. "Consider it my final gift, proof that what you threw away had value all along. Maybe you'll treat the next person's heart more carefully." He walked away then,
leaving Rhea on Marine Drive with the weight of handcrafted silver around her wrist and the heavier weight of understanding what she'd lost. The bracelet caught the streetlight, each gear glinting with stories she'd been blind to read when they mattered. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Rhea photographed the bracelet against her skin, but for once she didn't post it. Some things she'd finally learned weren't meant for public consumption. Some treasures existed beyond likes and comments, beyond validation from strangers who knew nothing of the calloused hands that had created them, or the poet's heart that had loved so completely it survived even her cruelty. Second-hand Heart continued thriving. Arav eventually fell in love again, with a gallery owner who appreciated art that bore the fingerprints of its creator, who understood that true luxury lies in the hours and heart invested, not the zeros on a price tag. And Rhea kept the bracelet, wearing it hidden beneath long sleeves, a permanent reminder that she'd once held someone's entire heart in her hands and deemed it insufficient. The most expensive lesson she'd ever learned, paid for with a love she couldn't refund or exchange. Some gifts, once discarded, remain lost forever, no matter how desperately you search the trash.